most amazing artist, and welcome to a brand new activity / project. This is a great beginning project for this year because it's all about the elements of art. And the elements of art are very important to an artist because they are like the tools that we need to make an artwork. And we are going to go over those 7 elements of art in just a minute after I tell you the materials that we will be using today. Okay? So you're definitely going to need a piece of paper. Doesn't matter what size. You're going to need a pencil and a pair of scissors. Now, optional, if you want, you can use a ruler because we're going to be doing a little bit of measuring, but that's an optional thing. I like to measure when I need to, but you can eyeball it if you want to do that instead. And to add some color to this project that we are about to get started on, we are going to use crayons. And with these materials, we are going to be making what's called an infographic. And it's basically a project or piece of paper. Sometimes it could be like a brochure or a flyer that shares information. So we are going to make this infographic today because throughout the entire school year, we are going to be referring back to these 7 elements of art, okay? So we're going to keep what we make today for the entire year, and I'm going to talk about it and use it in my lessons a lot whenever we're talking about specific elements of art, okay? So here are the 7 elements of art. We have color, line, shape, texture, value, space, and form. And I am not going to go into much detail of any of these today because this is just an introduction to the elements of art. Throughout the school year, we are going to do different projects that focus on each one. Okay? But I want us to make this infographic so that we have it and we can always look back at it if we forget maybe what is space or what is line. So this is why I wanted to start this year out with this project because we are going to use this project all the time this year. Almost everything that we do and everything that we make, I'm going to refer back to these 7 elements of art. So that's why I wanted us to go ahead and make kind of a summary of all 7 of them in one infographic. Next week, I'm going to introduce you to the principles of design, which are different than the elements of art. And we are going to just do a quick summary of those principles of design, just like we're doing today with the elements of art. And we're going to make another infographic next week. So the next 2 weeks, we're going to make a couple infographics, and then we are going to get started on the actual art making. Okay, so I'm going to keep this to reference, and this is actually going to be linked in your Google Classroom for you so that you can look at it and use it while you are making your infographic today. First, I'm just going to set my scissors aside. I don't need my crayons yet, and I don't need my ruler yet. The first thing that I'm going to do is take my piece of paper, and I want to make sure that it is laying horizontally, okay? That means it's going from side to side. We don't want it to be vertically because then we won't have much space when we start folding, okay? So make sure that your paper is horizontal, okay? Then I'm going to take the right side of my paper and I'm going to fold it over to the left side, and I'm going to try to get those 2 ends to meet up. All right, it's okay if it's not perfect. We're just trying to find the halfway mark of our paper. So fold it down, and then we're gonna open it back up. So now we can see that line of symmetry that's right in the middle of our paper. Okay, so then after you fold your paper in half and open it back up again, we're just going to focus on this right side over here. Okay, focus on this right side, and we are going to fold it in and have the edge of our paper meet that line of symmetry that we just folded. So fold it in, have it line up as best as you can, and press down to crease it. Okay? Then we're going to do the same to our left side. We are going to take the edge of our paper, and we want the edge to meet in the middle where we folded it earlier. And just be careful, it doesn't have to be perfect like I said, and crease it down. Okay, so now we have something that can open up like this. And this is where the ruler comes in if you want to use it. Now, like I said, you don't have to use a ruler if you don't want to. Totally fine. You can just eyeball how big your sections are going to be, okay? But as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 elements of art. So we need to have 7 sections here on this piece of paper. And the way that I'm going to do it, and you are free to do it the same way as me, or you can just eyeball it like I said, and I'm gonna make each section 1 inch. Okay, so I'm starting over here on the right side, and I'm gonna line up where my ruler says 0. I'm gonna line that longer line at the 0 with the top edge of my paper, just like this. I'm gonna leave a little bit of space on the side because I wanna be able to make marks with my pencil at every single inch. Okay, so once the 0 is lined up at the top edge of my paper, I'm gonna come down, I'm gonna find the number 1. And wherever the 1 is, I'm gonna put a little mark. And if your ruler moves out of place while you're doing this, just put it right back where it was. Line those dash marks back up with the numbers, okay? So after the 1, you're gonna come down and find the 2. Wherever the 2 is, you're gonna mark it. Come down a little bit, find the 3, the 4, 5, 6, and 7. Because we only need 7 sections, right? So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is perfect. Now I am going to do the same onto the left side. I want to line up my ruler, the 0 on my ruler, with the top edge of my paper as best as I can. It does not have to be perfect. And then I'm going to do a little dash where the 1 is, a dash where the 2 is, 3, 4, 5. Remember, if your ruler starts moving around, just line it back up. 6 and 7. Okay, great. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections. This section down here, we're actually just gonna chop off. If you have a little bit extra space down here, we will just cut that off, okay? Oh, I forgot to tell you, whenever you are using a ruler and you're making inch marks, you wanna make sure that your ruler is on the side with the bigger numbers, okay? The side with the smaller numbers over here, those are centimeters, and the side with the bigger numbers, those are inches. So we want to be on the side with the bigger numbers. Now I'm going to turn my ruler horizontally, and I'm going to line it up with the first 2 dash marks at the top of my paper, just like this. And I'm going to hold it in place with one hand, and I'm going to take my pencil with the other hand and draw a straight line across, connecting those 2 dash marks. I'm going to do the same to the second ones down here. I'm going to line them up with my ruler, hold my ruler with one hand, and hold my pencil and draw a line with the other hand. You see how we're making those sections now? All right, line up with the 3rd dash marks, draw a line with your pencil, and we are going to do this all the way down until we have no more dash marks left. So there are my 7 sections. Let's just double check to make sure we have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I actually have 8 down here, but like I said earlier, what I'm gonna do is I'm actually just gonna take my scissors and I am going to cut on the bottom line down here. I'm gonna take away that extra that we don't need, because we don't need 8, we only need 7. So I'm just gonna cut off any extra, and you can do the same to yours. And this extra paper that comes off, you can keep it, turn it into something new, or you can recycle it. Okay, so now we have our infographic and we have our 7 sections. Okay, we are going to label each of these sections one of the elements of art. And you can do it in whatever order you want to. I'm just going to do it the same order that's on this paper. Okay, remember this is on your Google Classroom for you to look at if you want to. All right, so my first section up here is color. And I'm just gonna write it pretty basic at first, and we're gonna decorate it later. Then the second section is line, shape, texture, value, space, and form. Okay, I would double check just to make sure you have every single one of them on there. And now that we have each one of these labeled, you can decorate each one as you want to, okay? So for color, maybe you want to make it colorful. For line, maybe you want to do some thick lines or some thin lines. For the shape one here, you can see they did like block letters. That's pretty cool. If you look closely on the texture one, it looks like it has a texture to the letters. The value starts really light and each letter gets darker. Okay, so those are just some ideas that you can do, but you can really decorate it however you want to, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use my crayons and my pencils. You guys could use markers, colored pencils. Just be careful with markers because they might bleed through onto this part, and we're gonna use this middle section after we decorate each one of these. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and decorate each of my sections however I want to. You can do whatever you want. You can make it really simple. I think that's what I'm gonna do, is just keep it pretty simple. Or you could be really detailed. Totally up to you and what you want your infographic to look like. Just make sure that you are trying your best and you're taking your time. All right, I'm gonna speed this part up because there's not much I need to explain, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop talking, get to work, and I'll be right back to show you the next step. All right, I just finished decorating each of my sections, and I tried to relate the definition of what each section is to kind of the decoration. So for line, I drew different lines: wavy line, straight line, zigzag. For shape, I just drew some shapes. I tried to add like kind of a fuzzy texture on the outside of the word texture. So just look at the definition and you can decorate it to whatever that definition makes you think of. Okay, so for color, I thought of the rainbow, so I did some rainbow colors up there. You can be as creative as you'd like to be. What I need to see is that they are labeled clearly and there is some kind of decoration for each section. Okay, it doesn't have to be extravagant decoration, just simple things will work. Okay, after you get done labeling, coloring, and decorating your sections, now it is time to cut again. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open it up, and some of my crayon got on the inside of here actually, and that's okay. And I'm gonna flip it over. Let me move this off to the side. Okay, so now it's open, and my sections are no longer together. When they're folded in, you can clearly read what each section is. When you open it up and flip it over, they are now disconnected, okay? Remember those pencil lines that we drew to connect the dash marks on each side of our infographic? Well, we are going to take our scissors and we are going to cut along those pencil lines, okay? So wherever you see a pencil line, we're gonna cut along it. But when the pencil stops, that's when our scissors will stop as well, okay? Don't cut past the pencil line because we don't want to accidentally cut this whole thing in half, okay? We're just cutting along the pencil lines. So now each of these sections is no longer together, okay? If you do it to one side, we gotta do it to the other side. So flip it over. On the other side, you're going to take your scissors and cut along the pencil line. Do we cut past the pencil line? No way, Jose. We are cutting on the pencil line, and our scissors will stop when the pencil stops. You really want to take your time while you're cutting because cuts are permanent, okay? Once you make a cut, there is no going back, all right? So I just finished cutting all of those pencil lines. Now I'm gonna flip it back over again, and we have our sections here. The last thing we have to do after you cut is we are just going to take a pencil, or you could do this in pen if you want it to be bolder, and we're gonna open up one section at a time. So I just opened up color, all right? In this section where I opened color up, we are going to write the definition of color, okay? So I'm gonna write color is
the hue that is produced when light reflects off of an object.
When you're writing your definition, try to make sure that it is neat so that you can read it, okay? The whole purpose of this infographic is that we can use it to our benefit later on this year. So if we're focusing on color, I'm gonna ask you to get your infographic out and open up the color section, and we're going to read the definition of color together. So we just learned color is the hue that is produced when light is reflecting off of an object, and we'll get more into detail on each definition as we go throughout the year. Okay, so my color definition is done. Next up is line. So I'm gonna open up line, and only in the section behind my line section is where we will write that definition. Okay, so I just wrote the definition for line, and as you can see, I ran out of space for one of my words, so I just kept going onto this extra paper over here. You see that where I was writing one dimensional? Well, I ran out of space, so there's more paper here, so we can use that if we start running out of space just in this middle section. Okay, so for each element of art, we're gonna open it up and write the definition behind it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that for the rest of my elements here, and then I'll be right back to wrap up this video. Okie dokie, friends, I have just finished writing all of my definitions on the inside of my infographic here, and we are done with this, okay? So like I said, this is our elements of art infographic: color, line, shape, texture, value, space, form. Next week we are going to do something very similar, but we will do it with the principles of design. I hope you guys have a lot of fun with this introduction to the 7 elements of art. We are going to be learning a lot about these and using them a lot this year. So I think it's great that we are having this introduction. I hope you have lots of fun. I can't wait to see your infographics. I know they're going to be amazing because you guys are amazing. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye, guys.